All right. I'm gonna go ahead and start if you don't mind. For those of you who like to stay for the moment, please stay off the camera. Feel free to turn off your camera. And also for those of you who like to mute, feel free to do so as well. Okay. All right. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to VISAP 2024. I'm Rebecca Rigerxu, one of the general chairs of VISAP 2024. Here with me are my amazing colleagues, Pedro, Laurie, Santiago, Kate, and Todd. I'm hoping Kate and Todd are here. We had hoped to welcome everyone to Tampa in person and interact with each of the selected artists and their inspiring works. However, the circumstances have brought us all online. But we now see this as a unique opportunity to share part of this experience with the world, especially those impacted by Hurricane Helene and Milton. While we're missing the chance to gather face to face, we are excited to connect virtually and bring the incredible VSAP 2024 program to a global audience. As what I have here are our team members. So, and we have an exhibition chair, Laurie and Santiago here. And I'm hoping I cannot see. I'm hoping our design chairs, Kate and Todd, are here. Riva Wright will join us in a little bit while Pedro should be here because Pedro was hosting the keynote session, which ended a minute ago. So let's start by talking about this year's theme. So this year's theme, diverse data, explore how we can transform the vast flow of data into creative expressions that reflect the richness of human experience. My colleague Riva Rai wrote beautifully on this theme, and I'm going to share a few words inspired by her thoughtful reflections. Data is now integral to our lives, shaping how we experience the world. Like stories, we gather it to understand and imagine. But it also molds our existence, influencing the contours of our lives. However, this vast flow of data brings risks, profiling, identity theft, and misinformation. In this digital age, we face the challenge of reclaiming data as a force for justice, inclusion, and beauty. VSAP 24's diverse data program calls on artists, scientists, and thinkers to explore the potential of data beyond mere analysis. Envisioning it as a medium for human expression, the program seeks to answer critical questions. How can data reflect the diversity of human experience? How can it fuel deeper conversation about equity through papers, pictorial, and artistic work? VSAP 24 will foster interdisciplinary dialogue to challenge assumptions about data's rules, aesthetics, and impact on our lives. We hope this work sparks meaningful conversation and a new collaboration across disciplines. This year, we received 82 total submissions. 20 or 52 of them are artworks. We accept 14, so the accepted rate is about 27%. And for paper, the submission was 10, and we accept 4. Acceptance rate is 40, and for pictorial, we received 20 submissions and accepted 6, and the acceptance rate is 30%. Yeah. And that being said, I'm gonna hand over the program to Pedro. Pedro, are you here? Let's see.
Pedro is connecting to audio at this point.
Okay, well,
at this point, there he is.
Pedro, right on time. Okay.
Hello, I just came from the other session. So this is me, right, talking about the program for for the next 2 days. So, we're going to have a series of panels right now. Hopefully, Laurie and Santiago and Rebecca already told you about those. Yes.
About
Alrighty. The panels today.
no, we
session.
haven't. That's gonna come up next.
All right. Okay. Just to let everyone know, tomorrow, October 15, tomorrow, October 16 at 10:15, we'll have the VIS papers being presented. It's going to be chaired by River Wright and Todd Linkner. We're going to have 4 papers being presented and 2 short question and answer sessions in between. On Thursday, we're going to have the VISA pictorials presentations. We're going to have 6 pictorials being presented, starting at 10:15, and also with 2 question and answer sessions. I would like to thank the steering committee, Maria, Yun, and Uta. A big thank you to the late reviewers that we had to get, because we had a record high number of submissions. So we had to recruit new reviewers just as the process was going on. That was unexpected. And also a big thank you to all of our program committee. If I'm not mistaken, that's around, I think those are 27 people that have been participating at this app for a long time ago. Others are new, and I thank them for their contribution. And I also would like to thank our supporters, the Art and Design Department at Northeastern University, the School of Communication at the University of Miami, and the University of Tampa. And I would like to thank IEEE for being open about this app being an affiliated event of VIS. Thank you.
Well, with that being said, we're gonna hand over to our exhibition chairs, Laurie and Santiago. But I just want to quickly see Laurie and Santiago both based in Tampa, and they are the one impacted the most by the current situation. And we very much appreciate all the work they put in this very challenging situation. So Laurie and Santiago, please take it away.
Well, thank you so
Thank
much
you very
for being
much.
here. This is
Yes.
amazing. So I'm Santiago Chaverri,
I'm Laurie Jakes.
and we're professors in different departments. I'm in the film animation and new media department.
I'm over at the computer science department, 2
Literally-
floors up from Santiago.
From my office. That's why we're meeting in here. We have no windows in my office, so that's why we can just do these meetings in here.
Right.
And this is to show you how much we believe in interdisciplinary collaboration. And we see that the ground for collaboration is ideal for these type of encounters with people that come from very different backgrounds.
Our problems are just too big now for one discipline to carry it. We have to start working with people we never thought we'd work with before to actually tackle the big problems in today.
Yeah. So I invite you to, whenever it's going to be ready, we're going to be having your videos, the videos that you sent us. They're going to be published in the website, and that's going to be part also of the presentation. And then also you will be able to download the finished version of the catalog, which is exquisitely designed by Kate Terrao and Todd Linkner. And you're going to be able to listen from them in about 45 minutes. So
as far as the presentation, those of you who are just here to watch, as well as the artists who are here to present, as we go through the videos and the artists talking, if you have any questions, we will have a Q&A at the end of the session. We got like 15-20 minutes, so plenty of time for questions. Please, you received a Discord link in with your IEEE registration for how to do this virtual thing in the first place, but you have a Discord link. We are in Bayshore III, and I will be monitoring. So as you think of a question, please post it there. At the end, we will ask them for you.
So this is going to be the order of the first panel. We're going to start with Ecovision with Jabao Lee. Welcome, Jabao. It's a pleasure meeting you. Flags of Inequality with Rita. And I forgot your name. I'm sorry, Rita. And I will go back to you. Francesca Samson is going to be interviews with the eyes. Transfer Scope with Christopher Pietsch. Displacement Flowers with Elizabeth McCaffrey. Rage Against the Archive, Anshul Roy. And then we're going to finish with Mosaic Memory Drive with Ignacio Perez Messina. So without further ado, I'm going to start the first presentation, which is going to be Ecovision. And then we want to say that Ecovision and Biorhythms, we're going to be the performance art pieces that we're going to be opening the show literally tonight. It would have happened tonight. And we were very excited about this because we saw the videos, we saw the submission, and we saw the potential to integrate the community and to literally allow people to experiment with your projects. And so right now we're going to be presenting a short video that's going to be introducing Ecovision. It's a short video that lasts 3 minutes. And then, Jabao, we're going to have the time at the end. We're going to have 2 minutes so you can add anything that you want to say. And this is Ecovision, which was, remember, this was going to be one of the performance art pieces that are going to be opening the exhibition. Oops, sorry. I'm going to turn off my camera and my audio.
Hi everybody, I'm Jabao Li. I'd like to start with this. So this is a picture of a bat, but if you turn them upside down, they become total badass. And this is 3 bats just getting ready for bed, but if you turn them upside down, they're actually just getting ready for party. So what I want to say here is how the world really is depends on how you see them. So throughout this session, I hope you could see the world a bit differently and see bats a bit differently. I create with more than humans, and why this is important, because every 9 minutes, one species on this planet disappears forever. This astonishing chart shows there are only 4% wild mammals left on Earth among all mammals. As the Anthropocene rampages, the challenge for the next decade will be try to shift our perception from egocentric, we're on the top of the pyramid, to ecocentric, where we are intertwined and interconnected with other species. And I try to do this through 3 steps. First is to empathize and embody, try to be like other species. And second is to speak up for them, think about what their needs, and maybe it's with manifestos. And the third one is to create with 4 more than humans. And I will give one example of my work about each of them. There are more, but time limit, so 1 for each. So the first one is to empathize and embody. Maybe we could turn the audio a bit down a bit. Yeah, and this is Nocturnal Fugue. I will perform this tomorrow at Deep Space 8K. Mark your calendar. So here it's inspired by Thomas Nagel's philosophical inquiry. What is it like to be a bat? Can we truly understand the being of another species? So with the help of AI, researchers found that bats have complex language, and just like human baby talk, when we talk to baby, we're like, oh baby, you're so cute. Bat has a similar tone when mom bat talk to baby bat. And they were used to AI to categorize bat calls into like sleeping, mating, food related, or fighting. And so we create the audiovisual experience with this bat calls, and also with Ecovision, you can scream and see the environment bouncing back.
Jabao, that was phenomenal. Thank you so much for being here with us. Where are you visiting us from?
I'm from Austin right now.
Thank you for being
Thanks
here.
for having me.
Jabao, we were very impressed with this aspect of the ludic. It's a game. It's part of this experience of a collective experience. Can you tell us a little bit more? How is it that encompasses the global aspect of the piece?
Yeah, maybe I can share screen since I have 2 minutes. Let me tell more about this. So that was a video from part of my talk at Ars Electronica. And so I live in Austin. Every day there are 1.5 million bats flying out under the Congress Bat Bridge. So it's a bat city. And I work at the Austin Bat Refuge to rescue injured bats. I volunteer there. These were me feeding the worms, and I work with the bat researcher Merlin Tato and his team to do bat survey and record their sound and build bat houses. And during that time, I got fascinated by their unique umwelt, their echolocation. So how bats echolocated, they shout out ultrasonic and then hear the environment bouncing back. So that's what you see in the video. And people under the bridge have this bat mask while the real bats, the 2 million bats, were flying out. So you have the real bats, and then you scream like a bat. And let me show this part since the video didn't show this clearly. So that's what you see in the mask. You scream, and then you see the environment bouncing back. This waits in an ice cave in the Arctic. So you can navigate the space in total darkness, even. It was total dark there. And this was in a lava cave in Hawaii.
Go ahead if you can share your screen.
Oh, I'm sharing. Is it sharing?
No, it's
Not
not
yet.
sharing. No, we're not seeing it.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it.
You are?
Oh.
Hold on.
I am.
Oh, interesting. Hold on.
Santiago, you might experience a similar issue I had before. Go to the top left, check the meeting. There's a button next to it.
Yeah.
And if you select a meeting or Jabber's lead screen, and between those, you should be able to see it. So
Let's see this one in here. No.
We can all see it.
If you
Okay, as
can
long
see
as
it,
you
it's
can
fine.
see it,
As
that's
long as
fine.
you can see it, it's fine.
Okay, and this is live stream, is that right?
Yeah.
And the screen is live stream?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
sounds good. Yeah, so and then coming back to this, I think the nice part of this bat mask is with these handles and the augmented reality with HoloKit, it's very easy for people to pass it around. Like comparing to the whole VR AR strap on, and you have like you can share it with other people. And it's good for like pop-up exhibitions, events. This was under the Bat Bridge, so there are a lot of people who are just running or cycling during the sunset, and they pass by and they're like, what the heck is that? I want to try, and they can quickly know the affordance of these handles, know that they put their hands there and then put it on their face and they scream. Yeah, do I have more time?
Yes, you
I
can
guess
have
that's
1 more minute. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, and how the visualization works is again. Okay. How can I turn? Okay, turn down this volume. Is the width of the lines is proportional to the volume, and then the color shifting between pink, red, blue, purple is proportional to the pitch. So it's also kind of like a sound or even music visualization. And so when we perform this, this is a version at the Deep Space 8K, and it's performed together with we call it bat karaoke. We made this music and then have the bats that are categorized by AI to know if they are food related or echolocation or about mating to jam together with the sound.
And now I want to dance.
And the audience are also invited to come jam. So after I perform, they come and do the bat karaoke themselves.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go with the next participants, which are Rita Costa and Beatriz Malveiro. Let's go here, and you should be seeing it here. Bienvenidas, Rita and Beatriz. It's a pleasure meeting you. It's a pleasure having you here. And we're going to go with your video.
Hi, I'm Beatriz Malveiro.
And I'm Rita Costa, and we are going to present Flags of Inequality. In 1978, Gilbert Baker designed the first pride flag. With a few extra colors than the one we have come to embrace, the designer used each segment to represent life, sex, hope, sun, nature, magic, serenity, and spirit. A better future for the queer community. In Flags of Inequality, we appropriate this symbol of the queer community and use it to tell the story of the unaccomplished dreams. We use the data collected by ILGA Europe in the Rainbow Index that maps which laws and policies impacting queer life exist in each European country. In this work, each stripe represents one category assessed by the index. Red represents equality and non-discrimination laws. Orange stands for the recognition of LGBTQ+ families, including marriage equality and adoption rights. Yellow is for the protections against hate, crime, and speech. Green means legal gender recognition and bodily integrity. And blue is for the civil space category, the ability for organizations to safely operate, perform public events, and freedom of expression. And finally, purple represents asylum protections. A full flag is one where a country fully delivers in all categories, but no country has one. This is what the Portuguese flag looks like. Portugal was 9th in the ranking in 2024. The country under-delivers in all but one category, civil society space, on which full coverage of rights is guaranteed to the queer community. But it scores particularly low in the protection of asylum seekers. Russia's looks like this, practically non-existent, barely visible, and we're confronted with this big empty space. The absence of color mimics the absence of rights.
In the project's website, you can explore patterns across countries and how the ranking has evolved over the years, all the way since 2015, when the ranking started. You can also look at which countries have been ranked at the top of the ranking and at the bottom. You can also look at patterns for individual countries through time. Here's a case of Luxembourg, where you can see like a positive trend in rights. That's also the case for Montenegro, where you can see a positive evolution in queer rights and legislations. While in others, the attack on queer rights is made even more obvious by the visualization. Here's the case of Poland, and if we look at Hungary, we can see this negative pattern through time. Going back to Gilbert Baker, he once said on creating the flag, we needed something to express our joy, our beauty, and our power, and the rainbow did that. Flags reflect our identities, hopes, and aspirations. That's why we hoist them in buildings. That's why we stand behind them in demonstrations. And given these very physical dimension of flags and how they occupy space and communicate, we decided to expand on the metaphor and take it outside of the screen with a collection of fabric flags, so that whether on screen or in the physical space, when we look at a colorful flag, we see where we can aspire to have a full, joyful queer life. But when we see an empty flag, we're faced with the invisibility and violence that queer people still face in those places, and are then reminded of the path still ahead to equality, the need to continue the movement forward and to drive for positive social change. Thank you.
That is extremely touching for me, Rita and Beatriz. I'm a member of the LGBTQ+ community in Colombia and here in the United States. I've been very active participating in inclusion, diversity, equity. And what your project does is highlighting the steps that we need to follow as communities. It was a gigantic surprise when I saw the numbers, and seeing Malta as number one. Russia was no surprise, but then the other countries and see the evolution makes a very important process for us. I want to ask you about the flag. When they're exhibited, how do you present the flags and the website? And what would be the coordination between the printed medium and the digital medium?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So we've recently created the fabric flag. Sorry, I'm disappearing on the screen. So it's in a way a natural step to follow the digital one.
to create, I think, a more richer and more immersive experience of the data that we're trying to show by using actual flags. But it was kind of a sequel to the first project. So while we've gotten feedback on the first, on the digital version, which allowed us to reach larger audiences, we're still putting together how to show the two. That was like, we wanted that VIS app would be kind of the first place where that would happen. That would be like a great honor for us. But the way that we envision is that you can kind of walk through and see that progress that you were mentioning, going maybe from the, starting with Russia and some of the countries where there is a clear need for activism and for progress there, and to, in a way, walk through that progress as you walk through the flags of the different countries, and eventually reaching what would be kind of the utopia flag, which would be a full flag.
In every single country. So I really do have to thank you, because sometimes through data, we're able to understand historically, and we're able to understand the processes that every single country and every single culture is going through. So thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe, can I just add something really quickly? Because I think that we've invested some effort and time in thinking about the physical flag and how it would be translated from the web experience to the live experience. And I think that everything connects to the original flag, right? Gilbert Baker and this ideal of creating this flag that would represent the community, and how we are taking the flag and taking this metaphor to showcase where rights, where everywhere rights are not fully achieved, but to show the extent on which it happens. But we are also being, in a way, I think, honoring the work of Gilbert Baker by using the sheer shiny fabric for the places that are still, or for the area that is still to for queer rights to be fully achieved. So I think that's also something important to say.
As a symbol of hope.
Exactly. That's exactly that. Yeah.
Exactly the point.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
We have a Q&A at the end, so we're going to have the time to talk a little bit more.
All right. Thank you.
We're going to have Francesca Samsel from Texas. Are you in Texas right now, Francesca? We can't hear you.
At the moment, yes, I travel a lot.
Thank you, Francesca. So Francesca, we're going to play your video, and then the project, and I'm sorry, this is mea culpa. I need to add that your collaborator is Benjamin Keisling. And
yes.
So it's very important to mention Benjamin. He is listed in the website. It was my mistake. I mean, this has been
no
in a rush.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very comprehensive video.
Why would a team of scientists travel to the interior of Greenland and drill through 2 miles of ice sheet to study the history of the ice?
In 2017, I joined a team headed to Greenland to collect cores whose properties encode how the ice had changed in the past. From just one location, we learned so much about this vast expanse and its history. For example, when was this area, today covered by 2 miles of ice, last ice-free? Answering this question can help us predict how quickly future sea levels will rise. But from here, in a lab built 50 feet beneath the surface of the snow, holding a solid tube of ice some 2 feet long and 4 inches across, thoughts of sea level rise and hurricane impacts are far away. How does one begin to express the scope and scale of glacial history that we learn from these samples, and the deep sense of awe that comes to me when I read the ice sheet's history in my scientific studies of these archives? As a scientist interested in art, this collaboration provided a means.
Although artists and scientists often work together for a visual rendering of scientific concepts, or to tap science as a source for art, here we have set out to construct work that is neither science nor art, but a hybrid, seeking to provide value to both disciplines. With this in mind, We set aside our scientist and artist hats, opening the door for us both to contribute throughout all phases of the project, from selecting the science topic through idea generation and on to its physical construction and presentation.
There have been 5 significant advancements in the methods used to study the history of Greenland's ice sheet. The 5 columns represent the 5 methods used by scientists to interview the ice. They span examining marine sediment cores, offshore seismic data, sediments below and within the ice sheet, and peering into the layers within the ice itself. Each of these archives, whose recovery has been enabled by advances in technology and logistics, has enabled reconstruction of the ice sheet configurations from the past. The first column represents cores drilled in the sediment off the coast of Greenland and marine sediments exposed in North Greenland that contain seeds and deposits with preserved DNA of willow and larch trees, as well as mammoth and hare living on Greenland millions of years ago. Seismic data, shown in column 2, enable scientists to peer into the sediment below the ocean floor. The layers and densities of sediment tell us that the ice sheet has been much larger than today many times in Earth's history. Column 3 references ice cores drilled in the 1960s that provide a continuous record of Greenland's ice sheet history. Just as tree rings tell us about climate conditions over the life of a tree, the ice layers record the conditions of Greenland's ice sheet since its formation. Column 4 speaks of data collected from airplane-mounted ice-penetrating radar. This type of data enables scientists to map ice loss, as well as see bodies of ice that have persisted for the last 125,000 years, a time when the Earth had periods warmer than today. Layered on top of this history, the visualizations shown in column 5 show the rapid changes recorded by today's satellites, specifically the increasing rate of ice melt from 2002 to 2023. Taken together, these columns tell us that in climates not much different than today's, the ice sheet has been much smaller. What we do not yet know is exactly what our future holds, but we know that human activity is accelerating changes.
The rapid transformation of Greenland's ice sheets will impact coastal communities across the globe. Interviews addresses this concern via a multimodal art installation consisting of 5 collages sourced from scientific methods mentioned. Accompanying the collages are glass and clay physicalizations of Greenland's ice sheet coverage, reconstructed with the help of models from the interview methods discussed. While focusing on the specifics of Benjamin's research, we hope to open a conversation on the evolutionary nature of scientific inquiry, the depth of thought and effort scientists devote to understanding our planet and its future, contributing to the trust in scientific findings, as well as providing an entry point for an embodied connection to these remote regions of our planet.
Thank you so much, Francesca.
Yeah. Can I share one thought that I realized I didn't add into the video real quick?
Absolutely.
So I work with a lot of climate scientists and help them with visualizations. And what we are working on with this work is what they call a boundary object, or a place for people to enter the more complex data. So this work is accompanied by kind of artistic visualizations of their data.
Wow.
Mm.
Lori has a few questions for you in the Q&A. So
Yeah,
get ready.
I'll be doing that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. The next piece is actually fascinating for me and for both of us. We're extremely interested in the usage of artificial intelligence, and he's going to be Christopher Pietsch. Am I pronouncing it right correctly?
No, it's peach, like the fruit, actually. in
Oh, okay.
German.
Perfect. Peach.
But-
Thank
Yes.
you. And we're going to be presenting your video, and we're going to have a little bit of time at the end for you to talk about the process.
Sure.
TransferScope is an AI-powered handheld device that bridges the physical and digital realms, inviting users to reimagine and transform their surroundings with unprecedented ease and creativity. This tool empowers individuals to capture textures, patterns, and concepts from real-world objects and seamlessly apply them onto other surfaces, bending the fabric of our perceived reality. At its heart, TransferScope embodies the intersection of technology as a tool and technology as a collaborator. It invites users to actively question and reshape their world, blurring the lines between artificial and organic in surprising and thought-provoking ways. Step 1, sample style. Step 2, sample shape. And transfer. On the server, a generative AI pipeline containing a multimodal large language model for prompt sampling and control net, IP adapter, and stable diffusion for image generation is used to merge the sampled aesthetic with the target shape. The result is then sent back to the device. The project offers a subtle perspective on the role of data in artistic creation and invites users to critically reflect the aesthetic character of state-of-the-art image generation models, emphasizing the importance of diversity in data sources to train them. Moreover, viewers are challenged to consider the origins of images, their manipulation, and how synthetic aesthetics reshape our understanding of authenticity and originality in visual media. TransferScope. Sample anything, transform everything.
Thank you, Christopher. Do you want to add anything?
I just wanted to add that you're kind of using the environment as data for this generative AI exploration. And you're kind of also navigating the latent space, which is a big word, but like all these possibilities in a physical space. So the images are more or less discovered by you by navigating this latent space and the physical space. And the latent space becomes somehow your artistic medium. And in the end, you choose one image and throw away all the other possibilities. And kind of like the navigation is where the experimentation takes place in this project.
You reinvent your environment.
Kind of, yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to stop sharing because our next presenter is going to be Libby McCaffrey. Sorry about that. Elizabeth, I'm going to stop sharing so you can share your screen.
Okay. Is it working?
Yes, it's working.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to talk about displacement flowers. Super excited to be here, and thanks everyone for having me. So first, just a little about myself. So I'm Elizabeth McCaffrey, but please call me Libby. And I'm a current student at Northeastern, and I'm studying computer science and information design. And I've been super interested in how I can kind of combine the technical aspects of comp sci with sort of the more artistic principles of information design and data visualization. And through exploring those interests, I've primarily been interested in looking at climate change and the natural world, as well as kind of how we as humans interact with those things. And saying that my approach to visualization is typically more in the abstract metaphorical realms, which I view as more of a humanistic approach to visualization, and how we can kind of establish more of an emotional connection with the viewer and as well as the data. And that's kind of where displacement flowers comes in the process of making it, because it's definitely not a standard visualization by any means. So I have like numerous encodings about sort of what's going on. But the primary message is talking about how there's been displacement due to natural disasters, and specifically natural disasters induced and worsened by climate change. And from the current situation, it's all like super relevant to us. So it's kind of a surprise that the relevancy of all this. But basically, in terms of the encodings, we're depicting sort of the time as a clock around these flowers for when these natural disasters are happening, as well as the displacement of people from the certain disasters based on the size of the petals, and then the various color encodings for the types of disasters, ranging from water-based to terrain-based, as well as heat-based disasters, between like warm and cooler colors. And sort of combining all of those encodings, you get these flower shapes, which I've done like many iterations upon and eventually settled at. And I think through the form, it takes a while to kind of sit with the visualization and understand what's going on. And that's always the struggle of sort of how do you get people to really sit with it and try to understand what's happening. But I think if someone does really decide to do that, you have this deeper connection to the data that's really prescient to all of us, and how climate change is real and it's happening, and it's making every country have really significant disasters that's affecting us as people, and definitely evident that we need to make changes to counteract that. And that's like the basics of the project. I'm excited to answer questions if anyone has any when we have time for it. And I encourage you to look at the contributions page to see all the fantastic work and the videos, as well as my portfolio or email if you have any questions specifically. Thank you.
Libby, this is awesome. I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Because we're entering in a realm that, especially right now in Florida, you know very well that somebody decided to just eliminate the word climate change.
Yeah.
And do you think that data is the way to really change minds?
I think that it holds a place just because, data does describe our world, and it's not necessarily an opinion, but it's also not necessarily a fact because of the human involvement of the data collection process in general. It's kind of inherently biased. But I think it as a means to show people as unbiased as possible, what's happening in our world. I think it's kind of the best case, and sort of how we can use visualization to communicate that to people, and not just through, more rudimentary charts and graphs, but through visualizations that maybe people connect with more and want to spend time with and want to understand, and just gives them more of that the desire to make a change because they saw something they really connected with.
Thank you so much, Libby.
Thank you.
We're going to continue next with, I'm going to share my screen again, and this is Anshul Roy. It's a pleasure having you here, Anshul. We saw your project at SIGGRAPH, and so it's just phenomenal to know that we're able to share your project in here. So the video is going to be playing, and Anshul, you have the microphone for yourself, and you're going to be able to play. It's more or less 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
Thanks. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. So I'm an artist who's interested in the intersection of anthropology and photography. And the reason I'm interested in data is because I look a lot at ethnographic images, which are a great example of how massive amounts of facial data in the forms of photo were collected in almost every country during colonial expansion to propagate pseudoscientific notions of racial inferiority. And so I got interested in this idea, and I was looking at one particular ethnographic publication called The People of India. It's one of the world's oldest ethnographic book with about 468 images. It was published by the British Museum. And the reason of the publication of this book was to other Indians and to show people back home in England that we need to stay in India and rule them over. And I got interested in how these kinds of images which were made under duress, images which were made for nefarious reasons, I got interested in how these images exist in our modern day institutional archives, and how archives should be better custodians of this digital data. And I was looking at one particular archive for my project, which is the New York Public Library's archive. And I also discovered that these images were being sold as fine art prints on the website. And I started thinking in my project, I started thinking a lot about how images can get decontextualized in our networked image culture. And what does it mean to look at an image of someone's pain on the browser tab? And in my project, the biggest paradigm shift I had was realizing that the website is a malleable canvas. So in my experimental videos, which I make, I use the inspect element tool of Google Chrome as a tool for electronic civil disobedience. I realized that the mouse cursor is the digital extension of my hand in the cyberspace. And with my Artivist project, I'm offering a post colonial critique of this ethnographic publication, which I'm interested in. But I'm also critiquing an archival practices and questioning what does it mean to be a ethically good archive, and how institutions should pay more attention to these visual spoils of history which they have, right? The march of photography has left us behind with lots of visual spoils of history, images made under duress. And in my project, I'm asking a very simple question about visual ethics, that how should we be better digital custodians of this kind of data, in which you can see people being subjugated with the camera. In my project, I have also made a Google Chrome extension as a conceptual new media artwork, which blocks New York Public Library's archives, and it deactivates the website from functioning in a particular way. And my project is all about visual ethics. It's all about how to be better custodians of data, which is quite sensitive in some cases. And yeah, this is all what my work is about. And you could see in my project, I manipulate the website locally. I put on a ski mask to create a performative spectacle of a black hat hacker. And I appropriate these images right on the website. I screen record myself doing this. Uh, and this is what my work is about. And this is what I was showing in IEEE's VIS app. This is my Chrome extension, which once you activate it, it blocks all these kinds of uh, order image fine art print options on New York Public Library's archive. And this, for me, is a symbolic act of electronic civil disobedience. It causes digital disturbances on the website to hopefully make you think differently about the source images. And thank you so much.
I think you can see by my smile how absolutely fascinating this is. Is there a way you can define the word artivism? Because it's a term that we use, but how would you define artivism?
I think I have thought a lot about artivism, and I have also thought whether art can actually do anything. And I think that it does have limit, but all artivism can do is make people think differently. And for me, that has been a very important part of this project. And also with this project, I finally succeeded in my goal of making New York Public Library change their website. So, in my work, I had a very limited, well-defined goal, which I luckily succeeded. But for me, artivism should not make actual ground level changes. It definitely can, but all it can do is change one person's mind. And that's a work good enough, I think. The role of the artist is to change people's mind and make them question preconceived notions.
Thank you. This was absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you.
Our next presenter, and the last one in this group of presenters, is going to be Ignacio Perez Messina.
And they also have a presentation.
And they also have a presentation. So I'm not going to share. And then this is going to be Ignacio sharing their screen.
Thank you. I'm actually gonna share some of the video. Can you see that? I think I have to press share before. Okay, so thank you. I'm Ignacio Baltasar Perez Messina. I'm a PhD student at VIS TUVIN. And the idea for this piece, is it playing? Like it doesn't want to play.
It is playing. We can see it on our side. We can see it a little
Yeah, but
bit.
it's not moving.
Oh, it's
See?
not moving.
It's not moving, yeah.
Do you want me to play it on my side and I can mute it and you can talk on top of it?
Yeah, let's do that. But just for 1 minute, then I'll go to the presentation, okay?
Perfect.
Just for a minute.
Go ahead and stop sharing your screen.
Sure.
Let me share my screen. And I'm going to mute it in here.
Yeah, okay. So I'll talk a bit over it. So the idea for this piece came while I was looking back at myself and my life, scrolling through my photo gallery, which is, in a way, it is self-tracked data, right? So I was going through a breakup. I was getting emotional by looking at the pictures because there is something touching about this kind of data, right? Which only I feel when I see it. What a weird type of data pictures are. But it's just pixels arranged in a certain way. So I asked myself, what is it that binds me to this data? Where is it in the data? So long story short, I come to the conclusion that if I rearrange the pixels from an image, any picture can be any other picture. And this is what Mosaic Memory Drive does. It combines two images in such a way that one lends its pixels and the other lends its structure to the final result and produces a transition from them. So I'm going to talk about Memory Drive, about the answer I found to this original question about the image in the literature. And if I got time, I'll talk about the technical aspect, technical realization of this piece. So thank you. I'm going to share my screen now and go to the presentation, if that's all right. So let's hope
you can share your screen.
Okay. Can you see the presentation now? This is, yeah, I think now it works, right?
Yes, it is working. Thank you, Ignacio.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay. So yeah, as I said, what this piece does is to combine two images into one, basically. But so the history of still images goes from painting to analog photography to digital photography, right? And Roland Bach in its book, La Camera Lucida, he proposes this distinction, this phenomenological distinction in photography, which is the studium and punctum, 2 dimensions of photography, where the studium is basically whatever we can identify in an image, like objects and so on, which are more or less interesting, but basically what we can call metadata or whatever data can be extracted automatically, what can we identify in an image. So if I show you my personal archive again, you will just identify things, but you will not feel anything from them probably. But that's this other dimension of the photograph, of the analog photograph, which is the punctum, which makes photograph emotionally piercing because produce a certain affection in the observer. We feel something when we see a certain photograph. It pierces us personally beyond this cultural layer, which is just what's called the studium. So it's not something interesting, but something touching. This dimension, it provokes a unique response in the observer, and it's not something apprehendable. It confronts us immediately to time, the image as that has been. The aim of this work is to propose a question of this essence of photography described by Bach in our current digital age. So does the digital image have the same piercing quality in the observer do we establish the same relation to image, to photograph as 40 years ago? And if I got time, I can explain more or less how this artifact works. So it creates a transition between two images where one lends its pixels and the other lends its structure, as I said. It does this by using the luminance information from an image and arranging it into a strip of the pixels of the image, right? And this transformation is applied to the other images as well, and any other number of images that conform the sequence. And so this as the pieces of a puzzle, right? And these instructions of the luminance, well, when we rearrange them back into the original form of the image, we already have a path that goes for each pixel into the position of any through every other image. So each pixel becomes a placeholder, a path through the image in the different images, and so on. And we can apply different constraints to this movement, like horizontal or vertical or bidimensional, for example, in that GIF. And we can also use this technique for different, we can experiment with it for maybe other cool purposes too, which maybe could be applied to visualization. So thank you for listening, and I'm up for questions or also collaborations in scaling up this technique. Thanks.
Ignacio, thank you so much for your presentation. And when you were talking, I immediately thought of the work of Christopher and how it's also this necessity of being able to combine two different images from two different perspectives. But I do believe that there's some elements of communication in there. So it was a very, very interesting presentation. We have just a very little time, but so far we've been okay. I want to open the space to those of you who feel that you need to say something. We have a couple of minutes before we go to the next presentation. Ignacio, if you can stop sharing your screen, that would be great.
Sure.
And I will share my screen in here. So does anybody have any elements or anything that they would like to contribute in a very short amount of time? If you can, that would be phenomenal. If not, we can ask a specific question.
I got 2 questions.
Yeah, we have 2 questions in here. Go ahead.
All right. So Echovision, interviews with the ICE and transfer scope and memory mosaic. For each of you, your projects have other applications commercially and scientifically. There's a lot of commercial or scientific realms that would benefit from your work. Where would you like to see those fields take your work? Where would you like to see this applied? Go ahead, Francisca, but you're muted.
You're muted.
I would like to see the work, which, as I mentioned, is combined with video on the sides of the grocery store. Climate is a bigger problem than anybody realizes. And the level of disinformation is pretty severe. But what we're finding is that in order for people to enter it, it needs to be kind of multimodal. So we're really looking at public art projects.
Keep us unmuted for this.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to jump in on that one?
I guess public education. Echovision is on the App Store. If you just search Echovision, anybody can download it anywhere. If you have an iPhone 12 and above Pro, then you can use it. It's anywhere. Like accessibility is what we hope for.
Okay.
And
so,
Christopher.
Yeah, on my side, I would say something like in the museum or something, where you could just go to our artwork, and then the artwork becomes alive by transferring like the style or this epoch to the scene or to humans, something like that. Yeah,
See, now,
something.
Christopher, I saw something completely different. I could see a doctor actually applying what you did, you know, like healthy tissue over a diseased area or something, not just for, you know, plastic surgery reasons, but to help identify if there's something wrong going on underneath the skin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's medical
that's
applications I
interesting.
think could happen with
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Christopher. Did you develop that tool? It's amazing.
So I created this tool like hardware wise,
Mhm.
but like the techniques behind, like the stable diffusion models and IP adapter and control nets, these are open source models, and I kind of compiled them together in a very fast way, and yeah, and everything, yeah, I plugged everything together, kind of like.
Is there a day when it will be for sale? We are setting up an exhibition space. I think it would be awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe I created full.
Yeah, I did have a question for the other artists, but we are unfortunately out of time. We have to stick to
Yeah,
the schedule.
We need to stick to the schedule. So now we're gonna be we're gonna stop sharing right now, and then we're gonna go now with Kate Torrado and Todd Linkner. So they're gonna be doing their presentation on the waves of diversity, the role of data in the VIS visual identity design. You're gonna enjoy this a lot.
Okay, hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Kate Torrado. This is Todd Linkner. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the ideas that we had surrounding the visual identity of VIS this year. So let's roll. So we're calling this presentation Waves of Diversity. There's a lot of thinking that was kind of embedded in the design that came to be in this project. So we're going to spend this time unpacking it a little bit. One of the things you might have noticed in the theme for this year was this statement here. So obviously the theme this year is diverse data, but one thing that we were kind of holding on to as a pillar to direct our design decisions was this idea that as diverse as humans are, data is too. So our charge, after having this expressed in many ways, was to really understand how to express this graphically and typographically as well. So to govern some of our design decisions, we together came up with some parameters or rules to govern some of our design decisions. And some of them were aspirational, some of them were just ideas at the beginning, but they kind of coalesced to form this system at the end. So I think at the very beginning, one of the goals that we had was to really think about typography from something that was very different from my education, maybe Todd's education too, and to think about typography as something that isn't as Eurocentric. So when we were thinking about these things as it related to the location of the conference, we were exploring type designers and foundries that were located in South America, Central America, Latin America as a starting point. Another thing that we were thinking about was trying to identify type sets, type designers, type things that could be variable to allow for kinetic possibilities and variability amongst a certain family. So we very quickly landed upon a couple of different typefaces that you've seen throughout the identity today in these presentations, but as well as on the website and the catalog around. So this typeface that we landed on is called Ancho. It's by Beatriz Lozano. It's inspired by Mexican cuisine and architecture. And this kind of stood out as an expression of a lot of things that we were thinking about. I think the idea of positioning this part of the conference as diverse data, it's also a point of view, and it's a statement of sorts. So we really saw this typeface as something that was bold, flexible, variable. It's only in all caps, so it's a display font, It kind of spoke loudly to some of the things that we were thinking about. The other typeface that we chose was this one here by Alejandro Le Celso of Pampa Type. This is a really beautiful typeface that has like an amazing origin story of coming from this independent type foundry in Argentina. It's a bespoke typeface that was designed for the National University of Cordoba in Argentina, which is one of the oldest universities in the Americas. So one of the reasons why this typeface was also so inspiring was that it also has this multitude of styles and multitude of ways in which it can be used. So it also spoke to this expansiveness of diversity that we were looking to. The other part of the origin story that we found interesting was this idea that this was created as part of the celebrations of the centenary of the university reform, in which these ideas of autonomy, of co-governance, of democratization of education was really widespread throughout Latin America. So all these things are very deeply embedded into the choices of the typography. But I think part of unpacking this and distributing these in the kind of joyful way that we've put it together speaks to how we're kind of taking them in for our theme as well.
Okay, so we eventually, working with the type, we arrived at this logo, and initially we were exploring a lot of variation in color and animation to kind of to both communicate diversity, but also this plurality of, as articulated in these different typefaces, they had a familial similarity among all of their differences. So they could exist in one place being completely different. From this, we really took from the type, it really kind of inspired us to think about these themes about variability, customizability, and the ability to accommodate and adapt to space. So then we started thinking about other ways that we could incorporate these ideas into the conference, and that led us to data as a design material. And to think about data as a design material, is we were realizing that to work with it, it really required a system for the data to flow through, rather than a traditional graphic design process where you're kind of planning for all of these possible outcomes. And to think about that system, we started by really literally centering St. Pete Beach, the physical location of this conference, had we all been able to be there, as the center of the world. And so from this point, we created vectors. And so we plotted all of the participants, and that gave us both a distance and an angle relative to St. Pete Beach. Those vectors, we were able to use the angle as hue using a hue saturation model. So that gives us a continuous 360 degrees of color. And then what is really interesting about this is the number of participants for the projects. So a number of projects have many people, not just from one location, but from all over the world. So the combination of those locations increases the color spectrum. It also takes the different waveforms. So we have the distance and creating the period, we combine those together. So a project ends up being represented by a waveform. And one example is something like this. But as we were getting to this, we were working with our own tool to kind of explore the parameters of what we might accomplish by creating a system for the data to flow through. So this is a tool early in our development where we are looking at the wave signatures of the various projects included in the exhibition. And then we were also playing very much with a variety of parameters to kind of bias our representation towards an aesthetically useful outcome. And so that kind of led us to the expression in the catalog, where we're using the generated waves. We're also using the wave motif to disrupt some of the like Eurocentric conventions of typography of like rigid orthogonal grids. And then we brought that expression into the website, where you'll see most of your work. And, you know, had this been a physical exhibition, we would have seen many more expressions of this identity in terms of the posters, the labeling of the artworks, and then, you know, potentially other things like apparel, tickets. Anyway, thank you for giving us the opportunity to kind of share the thinking behind the design. It's not something we often get to do in this context, and it's been a really fun project to work on.
No, you know my reaction when I saw your work. We're very proud that we've had the time to let you talk, because usually the designers are always behind the scene and you don't get the time to really express where the concept comes from. And this is going to be used in our design classes, and this is something that we can let. Oh, sorry, that's Riwa who's getting connected from Australia. So we're going to be ready to continue with the program.
We're a little early, so we don't want to miss anybody.
Yeah, we don't want to miss anybody, but what we're going to do is we're going to repeat a little bit for those of you who arrive a little late or who are just part of the second part of the presentation. In the second part, we are going to be presenting the second half of artists participating. We're going to be starting with Curbside with Carly Ross, Biorhythms by Riwa Wright, Recollection, Weidi Zhang, Rap Tapestry, Carmen Hull, Data Wagashi, Tianjie Wang, Pieces of Peace, Jenny Long, and Cinco Create with Xin Feng. We are a little bit early. We have 3 minutes. And so if we may, Lori was not able to ask a question, and it would be a very good moment for Lori to ask the question that was not able to be asked in the previous session.
Yeah, so I had a question for Flags of Inequality, Displacement Flowers, and Rage Against the Archive, which is that there's a thing called confirmation bias, where people tend to see what they want to see, especially in traditional data visualizations. So how do each of your approaches help counteract confirmation bias? Any of you can join in. Yeah, Libby, if you want to start it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a tough question, I think. So I was just kind of thinking for a second. But I think, yeah, I think that that's always kind of, as humans, that's something that like happens for us, is like we want to see what we want to see. And I think, you know, having, you know, going into seeing like a visualization and wanting to understand what's happening, I feel like it's really on the viewer as much as the designer, that they want to kind of encourage a certain thought process. But I think the viewer should also have a desire to kind of want to understand what's going on, and I think as a designer as well, you have to kind of make those decisions where is what I'm saying clear here? Is it not clear here? Like how much more clear can I make the point that I'm giving? But I feel like it's definitely a hard thing, because you can never know what everyone is thinking in their own heads, even if we wish we could. I know I do sometimes. But yeah, I think I don't even know if this is an answer to it, because
thing that struck me, each of these different artistic interpretations, because you're talking about, you know, actually bringing out something that's not usually brought out in data. Yeah. And we know with traditional representations, okay, you know, if I choose a pie chart over a bar chart, it's actually encouraging or discouraging certain viewpoints. Okay, you know, when we do pictographs, they tend to encourage a certain viewpoint. So I found it very interesting that each of these pieces showed a way of looking at the data that helped either force a different viewpoint, like Rage Against the Archive. You have to see it in that viewpoint. Or like with Displacement Flowers and Flags of Inequality, it, strangely enough, the art helped neutralize, I thought, some of that confirmation bias. We think that, oh, the environment is so diverse, and we look at this flower that has very little color in it that you've created, and suddenly it's like, whoa, wait, what happened to everything?
Yeah, and I think that like trying to approach visualizations from like a non-traditional point is also, like you said, it's helpful for that because it's kind of a totally new entity that someone's gonna have to see and have to grapple with and be like, what's going on here? Like, I like the way it looks, but like, why? Instead of being like, oh, it's a bar chart and I kind of cognitively understand maybe what it's saying, but like the y-axis could be flipped or something and it's completely confusing. But I think like having the more like unique forms, since you have to understand kind of what it is, it maybe helps with that too.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Libby. Now we're ready to start the second half of the presentation. The next presenter is going to be Carly Ross, Curbside.
And as usual, if you have questions, please, or comments, please post them in our Discord channel. We are Bayshore, what is it again?
Bayshore 3.
Bayshore, Bayshore 3.
Curbside is a personal exploration of disability and immobility in wintertime Calgary. This multimedia data art piece uses textiles, texts, and photographs to weave together self and the environment through a combination of trace data, personal reflection, and quantitative data. The multiple data forms are used to engage users in the complex topic of disability and its interaction with water and the built environment. The centerpiece of Curbside is a woven chart created using yarns that were hand-dyed with plant materials. The yarns from the background were exposed to environmental conditions over a 6-week period from January to February 2024. The materials used to dye the yarn for the background have been established in previous work with my colleagues to provide a register for environmental conditions such as exposure to light, exposure to moisture, and changes in environmental pH. Over this period, I also kept a regular reflection journal and took photographs of my winter travels as a person who does not use a car and has a moderate lower limb disability. The multiple elements of Curbside create a dialogue between data forms to engage viewers with the complex topic of disability. So I'm coupling trace data from the yarns and photographs with data on daily high temperatures and snow accumulation amounts from Environment Canada. Like my body, the yarn changes, the experience changes, and things overall become less uniform. The self-reflection, therefore, becomes a tool that I used to trouble my own assumptions and experience of place, and to unpack the ways in which I encounter not only systemic, but also internalized ableism as I come to terms with my changed body. The set of photographs which you are seeing here ranged from moments of awe and wonder to sights of frustration. So some of them show barriers between myself and the bus, they show residual of cold, or they're giving small landscape details that were sharpened into my focus by the slow pace at which my body was moving. So while these photos may provide a connection to landscape, it is the tracing of conditions through time embodied in the yarn that I also thought was twofold. Here, I wanted to highlight physical experience as something that is real and difficult to separate from the object, in this case the yarn, or the body, in this case mine. I also wanted to encourage people to think about disability, time, and transience, to ask what it means for a body to be abled or disabled, and to show beauty, nuance, and subtlety that comes with the process of a body in space, and in particular, to consider how the stories we tell impact our own perceptions. So in Curbside, I emphasized the specificity of disabled experience to trouble the boundaries between disabledness and abledness. My self-focus is a deliberate attempt to illuminate the individuality of disabled experiences of space and water. As I note in my reflections, however, this can also have the effect of flattening experiences. It can suggest that my experience could be extrapolated to the other and leave out all of the ways in which different communities or different contexts, such as flood, disaster, or war, may lead to different experiences of water-mediated disability. So a single focus on quantitative data can produce a flattening of disabled experience, but so too can a single focus on a single experience. Without the interactions between data types, the quantitative data weather would be trivial. The photographs routine, the narratives decontextualized, the yarns disconnected from the embodiment of space. Together they blend to provide richer context, deeper meaning, and story.
Carly, we were just saying that both of us, Lori and I, we've had to deal with disability with our members of our families.
Yes.
And exactly what it is to have to deal, for example, and especially now that we went through 2 hurricanes, we had to evacuate. Imagine under those circumstances how it goes. And so I can only imagine. I mean, I've never been to Canada, I've never been to Calgary. And so that situation in the snow must be quite intense.
Well, I think it's a really intense experience, but I think it also brought into focus for me exactly that. We know that when you have, it's been very top of mind for me, right? We know that when you have mass evacuations or war, that the people who have the hardest time getting out are people with disabilities. And so what I was trying to do is give voice to this creates challenge, this creates barrier, but also trying to bring to the surface the ways in which those barriers also manifest, particularly in crisis, in ways that I'm quite privileged and can't necessarily understand.
Thank you.
So I'm glad you got there. Thank you so much.
We understand it's not easy. It's not easy, and we're all aging, so we are all part of that susceptible population. So we are having a little bit of a communication problem. Rio is having some Wi-Fi issues. And we're going to go with Wadey, with recollection. Wadey, are you ready to go? Thank you.
Oh, hello. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can I share my screen?
I'm actually here, Santiago. Santiago, I'm actually here. Did you not see me?
Oh,
Hi.
I didn't see you arrive. I'm sorry, Riwa.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That was my
here.
mistake.
Yeah.
So wait,
it's
I'll
okay.
go with you right after Riwa, and you will share your screen. Yes, perfect.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sorry.
Riwa, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video, and I'm going to play it mute so you can talk on top of the video. Okay?
Oh, I have a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, we can do that instead.
You do have a PowerPoint presentation?
That works.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Let
stop
her
the
share.
share, and you're going to share your screen.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And I'm going to hide myself and mute myself.
How's my audio?
Perfect. No problems at all.
Okay, great. Hey, so hi everybody. I'm Riwa Wright. I'm a researcher from Aotearoa, New Zealand, New Zealand Māori, and with my partner Simon Halden, we form the group Uncalculated Studio. And I'm just going to apologize in advance for my very husky voice today. I probably have the worst case of flu that I've had in the last 2 years. So there are going to be moments during this presentation when I might need to stop to do some unsavory things like cough. But I'll quickly try and mute myself first. So it's been wonderful actually being invited along today. I'm on the other side of the world in a different time zone. It's actually 6:25 a.m. for me here. So I'm at the start of my day and you guys are near the end. So it's really great to be connecting across time zones. And I'm especially mindful that, I'm connecting into a zone that's been really affected quite severely by natural forces, by 2 hurricanes, And I just also wanted to, deeply thank Laurie and Santiago for making this talk series a reality and for making the online exhibition a reality amidst, what is actually also some extreme disaster and distress for them personally, being right in the eye of the hurricane in the Tampa and St. Pete's Beach area. So I just want to firstly, recognize the extreme efforts that our hosts have gone to today to make this happen. So I've been working with plants for a while. Since I was about probably 5 years old, I've really loved plants and gardening. So I've always had a connection with nature. My cultural heritage, being New Zealand Māori, we have a very strong connection with the environment. And I grew up in a very sort of a bushclad area. We actually had our own kind of small forest, I guess, on our lands that I would explore daily. So I developed a really strong connection physically with plants. And it's sort of makes sense that when I grew up and I became an artist, I decided that would be one of the elements that I worked with in my practice. So I started working with augmented reality in about 2014, making geolocated art walks that took the participant on a sort of passage through a particular environment. So at that point, I was working with one of my ancestral mountains, which was called Mangawhao in city of Tamaki Makaurau or Auckland, Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I was creating a sort of a reworking of a traditional trade route that went around that mountain, and I was adding augments. So that was sort of really my first kind of work with the environment. But from there, I quickly developed to using plants more in a sort of a physical sense, in the actual like work itself, I suppose, as an element or as a co-composer. I got really interested in the writings of Donna Haraway and Karen Barad. I'm thinking about how we can connect with non-human species as a companion. It's a really interesting book about her life with her dog and thinking about animal companions. So I sort of extrapolated this idea to think a little bit more about what a plant companion could be like and what plants could do in an art installation setting. So I started working with different mediums. I was already working with augmented reality. I got into VR about 2018. And at that stage, I was using a mixed reality headset. Well, it wasn't really a mixed reality headset. It was a VR headset that I'd modified to do mixed reality. So it was just an HTC Vive headset, and I mounted a Leap Motion controller onto the front of it so that you could actually look through the headset. Excuse me. So you had a kind of a really delimited computer vision. There was a very kind of black and white vision. It looked really, really sort of a little bit crusty and daggy, it was something, a device I'd modified myself. But I started doing these tactile performances with plants. So I would reach out my hands and I would touch a plant, and I had the signal already sonified. And through touching the plant, I could actually modify the frequency of the signal. And I would do a performance that also involved my Māori heritage. So there's like a traditional dance, which is kind of called kapahaka. We have these kind of like this hand gesture, which is called wiri wiri. So I started doing a sort of a performance that went alongside these plants. And I started working with the art installation space and the plants across this sort of very performative, engaged type of tactile practice using dance. So from there I started, I'd be using different body sensors. The natural step was obviously to move on to Connect, and these days I use Connect Azure. Not Leap Motion so much. I tend to be into the more of the full body sensors these days. I've also changed my scale, so I don't use HTC Vive anymore, but tend to go full scale. But in the past, I've worked with virtual environments as well, Mozilla Hubs, and I do also have a VR chat project. So this is our latest work for Uncalculated Studio. It's an animated video called Cosmic Signals. And that's actually using data drawn from the NASA database on space sonification. So I created a kind of a bunch of interactive touch designer sequences, which I exported out and turned into a film. We're kind of lucky in Melbourne, there's a really nice 5K digital screen in the middle of Federation Square. So we were able to screen it there in September over the whole month in the evenings. So I'm currently turning Cosmic Signals into an interactive work. And you might be thinking, okay, how is this related to plants? It's the idea of working with non-human forces. So the idea of thinking through how we might engage with non-human entities in a way that is not to do with resource extraction. Because, you know, the Western paradigm is very much about extracting resources out of literally anything we can find. You know, free objects feature really highly. So, you know, anything like mining in terms of like extracting minerals out of the landscape, or logging in terms of like, you know, cutting down trees and selling the wood. So this paradigm of resource extraction is something that, you know, permeates pretty much all of Western culture. And it's also there in art practice, right? So we see traditionally with, you know, a lot of art, for example, about plants, or representational art about plants, it is very kind of literally just a illustrative depiction of the plant. So it's a representation, but it didn't really respond to any of its other actual forces, such as signals. So what I started doing was making these very abstract animations that actually eschewed representation. So they were the opposite of representational. So first I was doing this with the plant signals, but this is a work here that I developed using the sonified space data. So as you can see, it's very kind of geometrical, a lot of sort of curvilinear shapes and forms. In my sort of culture, Māori culture, we have a lot of woven nets. So weaving is very, very big. So when I work with computational art, working in digital space, I tend to bring in those weaving metaphors, you know, so obviously like the mesh, you know, the classic digital mesh that you find in all software, you know, that's reminded me so much of the woven fishing nets from Māori culture that we use to catch fish and eels and different aquatic life. So I started working, I suppose, with those ideas around abstraction to try and move in a kind of different direction. So this is a little shot from our studio practices. So we have a little studio in our house, basically, where we set up some of our kind of plant companions just with a basic screen, some musical instruments. You can see in the photo, there's Simon, my partner and collaborator, is just behind me. He's a man of few words, and also he's not a big morning guy, so he didn't want to come along today. But yeah, he's creating all of the soundtracks. So he's a music producer. He actually works in popular music, mainly in reggae and dancehall. So he is he's been working in kind of popular music production for probably about since maybe 2011, 2010, something like that. But when we work as Uncalculated Studio, he's looking after the sonification and the kind of composition part of the soundscape. So above the shot of the studio practice, you can see a couple of screenshots. This is just live out of Touch Designer. So I spend a lot of time kind of like laying out the different camera spaces and the different nodes so that we get a kind of a nice symmetry and kind of an interesting abstract sort of patterning. I've been interested in mirroring and patterning for a while. It's something that comes up in every kind of culture. The human brain has like quite an interesting approach to symmetry in terms of our perception. It tends to really engage people. and taking the idea of something which is naturally asymmetrical, like an organic object, and translating that into a kind of symmetrical Cartesian space, I found really interesting. So yeah, we're basically just mapping the signal frequency to color noise scale and transform parameters. Whether we're doing it with plant signals or whether we're doing it with NASA data or whatever there is.
Riwa, I hate to interrupt you, but we are running short on time.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. I'm completely done. I can wrap
Perfect.
it up. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Riwa. And next, we're gonna go with, if you can stop sharing your screen, that'd be great.
Yep. Let me just do that. Thank you. Thanks so much. This has been great.
Thank you. We're gonna go with Weidi Zhang. And please forgive me for the pronunciation. I already have
I think you pronounced perfect. Thank you.
So we had the chance to see your work at SIGGRAPH, and it's just an honor to have you here with us. And you're gonna be sharing your screen.
Okay, am I sharing right now? Just to double check. Okay. Okay, so hello everyone. Today I'm gonna share my interactive AI art installation. It's in collaboration with Roger Luo. So our work get inspired by my grandmother suffered from memory regression. So it's a very sad story. I witnessed her cherished story dissolved into fragmented language. So here it comes to our interactive AI art installation, trying to transform the fragmented language input of fading memories into a full visual narrative in real time. So first of all, I want to share a short video of my work. Sorry, guys. I think I didn't share the sound. Let me double check. Okay. Okay, let me reshare. Am I sharing right now? Just to check.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay, cool.
Giving birth to my son was the best thing I ever did.
I took a cross-country road trip with my friend without any final destination.
초등학교 때 나무 아래에서 친구들과 도시락을 먹었다.
Cuando mi mamá y hermanas viajes en
jugar fútbol en el parque.
所有东西都在摇晃，所有东西都在掉下来，地板裂开。
I remember going to Disney World for a Christmas party and seeing fake snow fall from the sky.
Okay, so our work starts from 2022, and it's in 2022 the text-to-image model released, and I think it offers a new perspective for we as artists to think about memory preservation. So my motivation starts with the design question of the connections between language, imagination, alternative narratives, and visual memories. And my project rooted in the medical humanity fields, to reviewing like the research in medical humanity fields about memory, imagination, and interbody self as a montage. And many researchers in their field think instead of to repairing or restore our memories, we can view our memories as a evolving selfhood. So we can, for instead, like reimagine memories. So that's a reason I want to create a project about visual memories that is in between imagination and remembrance. Technically, we use speech recognition, text auto-completion to transform that one sentence from our participants about their fading memories to a full narrative with a lot of imaginative details. And then those texts will be transformed into image using Stable Diffusion model. And specifically, we fine-tuning the models on documentaries on Alzheimer patients, their visual memories, and captioning the captions from their documentaries. And then we use a visualization technique to transform the generative visuals from generative AI model to the real-time moving graphics visualization displayed in the installation. And we chose not to showcase the direct output generated by our AI system. Instead, we drew inspiration from fine art practices such as monotypes, such as slit scan photography. That's the reason because we want to combining the generative methodologies with fine art practices to investigate the new aesthetic for experimental visualization that represent the fleeting visual memories undergoing dissolutions, tilting, printing, and reprinting of our fading memories. Specifically, we use pixel shifting, displacement, optical flow feedback system to create the visualization. And it has come with multiple installations. For example, it was shown at SIGGRAPH last year. It's more like displayed as a photo book with the Polaroid frame and also the descriptive sentences on the side. And we found that many participants feel disconnections between the text and images. So that's a reason we developed the second iteration to incorporate the text inside of the as a graphical components, and it's more displayed like a reflection of themselves. So when they gaze into the visualization, they feel that their memories has been reimagined, reflected, and recreated. So this was in Vancouver, and it was in Arizona. And here's some documentation images. And currently, here comes the immersive version, and it is in Europe, Budapest, and it will be on show until November 1st. So it's a projections on a curved surface mapped with 3 projectors.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's my last slide. Thank you.
Awesome. We did it really well. So we're going to share my screen. And then the next one is Wrap Tapestry. It's going to be, I'm going to start sharing my screen in here. There you go. Share. And we have Carmen Hull here, and we're going to play the video.
We introduced the Wrap Tapestry, a physical weaving visualizing the beats and rhymes of the hip-hop classic song 93 Till Infinity. The tapestry metaphor mirrors the way hip-hop artists talk about their craft in terms of flow, where the higher density of rhyming syllables over the beats and samples shows the level of skill of the rapper. Musical notational systems are a type of data visualization, but they're not typically associated with underground music cultures. Our work builds on the study of creative notation in the context of rap music, and offers rich insights into the complexities of literacy and musical production in a post-colonial culture. We developed our algorithm by analyzing this classic hip-hop song to celebrate the skill and creativity involved in building the structural dimensions of language, beats, and rhyming patterns. I first envisioned a grid structure that could contain both the evenly structured 4/4 metronome time, but also had the granularity to position microrhythms, or syncopation, as seen in traditional African music and digitally expressed in the layered production style popularized by artists such as Jay Dilla. The main sample of the song that you heard in the background is depicted with a lavender stripe running horizontally across the bars. Dark green vertical strings mark the metronome structure of 4/4 time. The kick drum, snare, and 808K beats are encoded in the darker purple, while the pale green dots and the red show piano and string instruments. The rhyming syllables are shown with hand-dyed rolls of sliced felted wool, with matching colors showing where both internal and external rhymes occur within the syllables. We first developed our algorithm by building and analyzing from scratch this classic hip-hop song by Souls of Mischief from Oakland, California. Isolating each individual instrument is typical for MIDI files, but this data is not available for songs recorded in the 90s, which had been laid on 2-inch cellulose tapes. And so we recreated the data digitally through sampling from their MP4 version. Since we only needed the data to be able to create visually distinct patterns, the audio quality wasn't important in this case. Our digital system is a time-based animation with a cursor tracking the song as it plays along each bar. Individual instruments can be toggled on or off with buttons below. Isolating each instrumentation track allows each stem to be visualized in a different way. The grid provides a space for marking 2 bars along each row and translates auditory signals into symbols reflecting pitch, rhythm, and structure.
I'm chilling with my man Festo, my man A Plus, and my man Oak. You know he's dope. And right now, we're just maxing in the studio. We're hailing from East Oakland, California, and sometimes it gets a little hectic out there. But right now, we gonna up you on how we just chill.
Dial 7 digits, call up Bridget, her man's a midget. Plus you got French, yo, I can dig it. Here's a 40 swiggin', you know it's frigid. I got him chillin' in the cooler, break out the ruler. Damn, that's the baddest dog I ever seen. The weather's keen in Cali, getting weed, it makes it feel like Maui. Now we feel the good vibrations. So many females, so much inspiration.
Visualizing each song in a single view, showing the entirety of the song's structure, teaches the viewer about the foundational building blocks of a song. The larger patterning evoked similar chunking patterns to those of parts of a letter, a story, or even an opera, with its overtures, recitative, arias, chorus, and ballet. Since the current signal processing is not sophisticated enough yet to detect rhyming syllables or phonemes individually, we had to manually encode this part of the tapestry. This interdisciplinary approach offers new insights to create cultural heritage through a different modality that will foster connection across diverse communities, potentially even those that are not able to experience music through their ears, such as those who are hearing impaired. This prototype is currently in development for a larger system that will enable more complex authoring of visual music systems, tracing the flow of language, beat structure, and visual grammars across musical communities of all genres.
Do you want to know more about carbon, wildfire, Arctic ice, and the ongoing crisis on Earth but feel exhausted and disinterested by the complexity of reading data and understanding its meaning? Data Wagashi wants to promote a more natural, intuitive, and inclusive way to understand environmental data. If you believe we should rethink how we represent the data, you should join us to explore how to feel the climate data through new design medium. Environmental data can be more accessible and fun by engaging senses via olfactory, gustatory, and tactile information. It mobilizes public interaction through the familiar medium of food, and foster deeper empathy towards climate topics. We use Wagashi as the medium because it is traditionally conceived to embody the transience of seasons and nature. It is designed to artfully capture and mobilize all senses, and profoundly encapsulate to meaning and messages. Through selected case studies that physicalize data sets, we will go over 2 data stories. AutoSet looks at food ingredient and their production carbon footprint. There is a stuffing component like berries, chocolate, citrus, etc., and a base of coffee jelly. The different levels of carbon dioxide create nuanced bitter flavor to highlight the difference in carbon footprint. Ingredient with larger carbon footprint results in bitterer wagashi from larger coffee content. The land use and water use data is used to map pairing beverage and dipping. Cori is a set about the parallel changes of ocean heat, Arctic ice mass and Earth's carbon dioxide level over the course of 60 years. The amount of natural food color in the shell represents ocean heat. A piece of honeydew for sea ice that's encapsulated inside. White sesame that's adding noise and texture to the clarity of the shells as level of carbon dioxide. This is about the rise of greenhouse gas, ocean heat, and the impact on Arctic ice. We can feel, touch and taste the rising temperature and vanishing glacier ice towards an alarming climate future. Data Wagashi also provides online recipe platform. You will be able to build your own data confection recipe with this tool so that you can take these climate stories home and share it to more people by making your own climate data confections. The project also extends into physical space, potential pop-up in collaboration with local restaurants and branded merchandise to promote climate awareness. We believe Data Wagashi might be one step forward towards a more interesting, accessible, and inclusive way of communicating this information.
Digi Wagashi is an extension of the Data Wagashi project. Building on the Data Wagashi work and its process, Digi Wagashi is a cross-platform browser app that is powered by generative AI. It enables people to get Data Wagashi recipes by choosing different data stories so that they can follow the recipes and make Data Wagashi at home and share the experience and the data stories with more people. It will also allow people to input or upload their data of interest to personalize the experience, ask questions, and discover insights from AI about the data story, the Data Wagashi designs, and instructions on how to make them. The Data Wagashi project, Digi Wagashi's root project, was conceived in response to a growing need to raise awareness about environmental issues. These global crises often seem overwhelming and distant, detached from the realm of our immediate senses. It aims to bridge that gap by bringing ecological data into a more intimate, approachable, and even palatable sphere. Digi Wagashi takes Data Wagashi a step further by asking, what if people could order desserts not by choosing ingredients, but by selecting data? This experimental app is a provocation for bringing climate awareness efforts into consumer products, blending climate messages with engaging and marketable experience, and amplifying the reach by open sourcing this idea. It seeks to carve out a new pathway for environmental messaging, embedding it within everyday practices like food ordering, thus making the message not only more digestible, but also a part of daily life.
Pieces of Peace is an artwork that uses debossing to physicalize peace agreements.
اعلی حضرت خاطر نشان کردند که ترجیح می‌دهند تا شخص مناسب دیگری که مورد قبول شرکت کنندگان باشد به ریاست اداره موقت منصوب شود.
رئیس، معاونین رئیس و بقیه اعضای اداره موقت توسط شرکت کنندگان مذاکرات سازمان ملل متحد درباره افغانستان انتخاب شدند.
The design process, which includes the choice of paper, font and font size, tracking and debossing weight, allows us to visually represent the gender-related data in a way that is both aesthetically pleasing and thought-provoking. The audience can listen to recordings of the agreements in Dari, one of Afghanistan's official languages, interact with the debossed texts using a pencil, and illuminate the artwork with a light torch.
We happen to have the artists in here, Tianjie Wang. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mute the video, so that way you can share your comments while the video is playing, and that way you're going to be able to talk about it. We have 5 minutes.
All right, thank you, Santiago.
Thank you, Tianjin.
All right, so Synco Create, this project is a exploration of collaborative artwork and co-creation in human interactions, and it spans various forms. And it asks the question of how might we harness the power of real-time brainwave interaction to elevate collaborative artistic experience and strengthen emotional bonds in virtual environments. And the project differentiates itself by focusing on collaborative art creation driven by mutual brainwave interaction and synchronization, employing gamified interactive elements and immersive visual stimuli to enhance emotional connections in co-creation and co-performance. So the scene itself, it's set in a starry dome arena designed to resemble the inside of a brain, creating an immersive environment with a dreamy, imaginative aura that transports users into a cognitive realm. And it's not just a static image, but a dynamic and interactive experience that changes based on a user's brain activity. There's a rippling, reflective water surface that complements the space with sensors, metaphorical sensors floating on it that pulsate at a frequency of the dominant brainwave, serving as like a metaphor of the conduits for streaming real-time data. And there are luminescent trails that swim beneath the water, changing the color based on brainwave frequency, symbolizing the transient nature of thoughts. So the color mapping scheme transitions from yellow to purple counterclockwise along the color wheel, and it represents brainwave band types from alpha to delta in the order of decreasing activeness. Because since different type bands, brainwave type band types has associated mental state and activeness of the brain. And previous neural studies have identified distinct patterns linking brainwave bands to specific brain regions. So in our scene, the mapping of the dancing sprites and the pink stroke positions is an artistic interpretation of these findings, and it's harmonized with symmetry rules and adjusted to ensure overlaps among the areas. And the tail color and movement vector of each sprite is driven by each user's dominant brainwave band, giving users a sense of their mental state compared to their paired partners. So there are two people kind of engaged in this experience, one at a time. So each of these two dancing sprites each represent one of the users in the pair. So and when the two users interact, the shape, position, and color of the sprites dynamically change based on their brainwave data. So the data itself updates the parameters of the VFX sprites, giving them a sense of life and emotion that reflects the changes in the user's brain activity levels. And the sprites dynamically shift positions according to the dominant brainwave type and its corresponding brain dome area. So for instance, when a user's dominant brainwave type is alpha, a random point within the predefined prefrontal area is selected, and the sprite gradually moves towards it. When both users synchronize in the delta band, their sprites simultaneously head towards a mutual point in the rear area. So to aid synchronization process, each pair of users is encouraged to follow the other's trail within the scene. And each synchronization event results in a grainy ink stroke. It's colored according to the corresponding band type appearing in the relevant area of the dome. So the experience is enriched by two primary layers of interactivity. First, when users' brainwaves can dynamically modify the other's environment, enhancing mutual awareness and empathy. Users can choose to converse, exert external effort, or simply let the visual cues guide them towards synchronization. Second, as the session progresses, the blending paints form into a neural painting. It resembles a dome of fireworks in the sky and celebrating the user's neural resonance and connection. So as they continue to synchronize, the more paint accumulates on the hemispherical canvas, creating overlapping artistic effects as they synchronize across different band types. The end results are unique pieces of art that celebrate the connection between the two users. So the project Single Credit seeks to offer a unique experience that combines art, technology, and neuroscience to create a memorable and engaging experience for the users. Whether you're an artist, a scientist, or just someone looking for a new and exciting way to connect with others, it seeks to have something for everyone. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. I
Yes.
know this was a little bit difficult at the end, but thank you for dealing with us. This happened literally in less than a week. So we truly appreciate not only your artwork, but your willingness to help us make this happen. It's very special for us. We may be cut right now from the YouTube, but you can access the Discord channel in your email. It was in the
Yes.
email that was sent.
The email that was sent has the access to the Discord. And in that Discord link, we also put in a link to our website so you can take a look at the art at your leisure and see the beautiful, beautiful catalog we've got set up. Hope to see everybody tomorrow at our events. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. We're very, very thankful.
Have a good night.